And now I'm trusting in what God has said to rest in the Lord. Next part we have here, the next one was, last month was about dominion. Dominion. This idea of dominion. And we talked about, read this with me please. I embrace godly wisdom to inform my opinion about my position of dominion. And we spent this whole time talking about living in dominion. And this idea about dominion is what? Our what? What is it?
Birthright.
It's our birthright. Now, did you get dominion when you were born? If it's it says your birthright, that's what you said.
Right.
When you were born, doctor's pocket. Right. Did you get a dominion then?
No.
So a dominion. So when did you get it? It says your birthright. Where was it made in? When they got born again, part of the package is now receiving the fact we now have dominion. Not that we now have to work for dominion. It was already included when we got saved as well. So this month, what we're talking about now is this idea of imputation. So please read this with me, our whole confession from this month as well. Let's read this together. I operate in a spirit of exceptional excellence. I embrace and enjoy the what? Impartation of God's imputation. The impartation of God's imputation. So now this idea we invited here. So I want to go back and take a look, first of all, at just our title. And just to be clear, we've already reviewed. So now this imputation, this message, the most important series I've ever preached in my life, every week, every month. But the idea was the imputation. As we understand this idea of imputation, I would offer it now frees us to go and embrace and live the enjoy life that God's provided for us. Let me say it another way. Not understanding imputation will hinder our understanding of what God has already provided for us. Now, when we come to understand imputation, we now can be free of all of the stuff and all the junk and all the baggage we've been holding on to for years, because we now know what God has already provided. So spiritual principle number one. Our title here is, read the title with me again, the invitation and implementation of what? Imputation. That's our sermon title. So this invitation right here, an invitation. So you are invited. So all y'all, we all invited. That's the jail. You're invited to the celebration of embracing and enjoying imputation through Jesus Christ, the Savior of the world. Now here's the point. Whenever you get an invitation, what's your role if you get the invitation? You got to accept it. Just because the invitation is there has to be some kind of RSVP to accept it. Just because love has been extended from God, what do we have to do? Accept it. Joy has been extended by God, what do we have to do? Peace has been extended by God, what do we have to do? So it's about saying, just because the invitation has been extended does not our role. God extended it. We have to accept it. Now, not only we have the invitation, but we talked about not only the invitation, but the implementation. What does implementation mean? What do we going to implement something? What does that mean, implementation? Yeah, it's right. It's putting into motion. It's putting into action some steps. Implementing some steps. I'm implementing some steps, some things that occur. So now we have this invitation from God we have to accept. And now what are the steps to embrace the imputation God has for us that we can now enjoy and embrace life to the full and the overflow? So an invitation simply is the activities to make sure we have some steps laid out to make sure we accomplish something. So the invitation and implementation. Everybody good about invitation? What you got to do with invitation?
Accept it.
Got to accept it. And the implementation means what? I'm going to do what? It's a what? Series of steps. So in other words, there's some steps that are necessary for us to understand about imputation. That once we understand those steps, we can now get the benefit of it. All right, here's our next spiritual principle. Now I want to talk now let's go back to our mission statement. What's our mission statement for this year? Embracing and how many of us really ready to embrace and enjoy life for real? How many really ready to embrace and enjoy life to the full and the over? Now here's the point. Sometimes it is hard to embrace life and enjoy life to the full and the overflow because we keep focusing on what's not working out. Instead of saying, no, God has already worked this out. So I'm now going to embrace life. I'm going to enjoy life. John 10:10 Amplified Classic. Jesus says, the thief only come. The only reason the thief came was to steal, kill, and destroy. But Jesus says, I came that you may have life to the full, to the overflow, and have it in abundance till it overflows. The invitation's been extended. We have to accept it now. I love Romans 12:1 Message translation. Let's read this again. Embracing what God does for you is the best thing you can do for him. God has provided joy. God has provided love. God has provided favor. And all he's asking us to do is do what? The very first word? Embrace it. Receive it. Accept it. Sign for the package. It's already ours. And oftentimes we think our behavior cuts off the blessings from the Lord. Now realize that God has already provided this for us. Our role is just to accept it. So our confessions this month, I want to work through this. Let's read this together for our last time today. I operate in the spirit of exceptional excellence. I embrace and enjoy, keep going, the impartation of God's imputation. Got the invitation already? Got the implementation. Now what about this impartation? Impartation. How many of us ever heard that word impartation before? What does it mean, impartation? What does it mean, impartation? All right, impartation. So an example. So impartation simply means a transmission of information. So in preparing this series, there was imputation. So the Spirit provides information and revelation here to me. I share it with you, and you go share it with others. So what it really means right here, it is to give over, to share, commit, or transfer. Impartation. That we have, this impartation. It is God sharing. It's God giving. It's God transferring revelation to us that we can live a victorious life. Come on now. It is God sharing. It's God giving. It's God granting. It's God bringing forth. It's God releasing revelation for us to have life and enjoy life to the full and overflow. This impartation. So we're going to spend a bunch of time on this slide all month long. But particularly here, I want to talk about, look at under the importance about B right here. It is to give or activate supernatural ability. Impartation, let me give you an example. In our flesh, it is very hard to forgive folk. Even though throughout the word, forgive. Jesus on the cross, forgive them for they don't know what they do. You're talking about they don't know what they do. They did it. So the idea, so that it's hard in the natural to forgive. But by the impartation of the Holy Spirit, we now have supernatural ability to do things we could not do in the natural. Part of what we could not do in the natural is to forgive. Or sometimes we in the midst of hugging, we hug them so tight, so we want to squeeze the life out of them. But the idea that I'm going through here, that now because of this supernatural, the activation or the release of this supernatural ability is what really impartation is all about. So we're going to spend a lot of our time really looking at this idea of impartation. This impartation is to transfer, it's to give over, it's to release. So activating supernatural the ability and anointing as well. So let's keep going. So we talked about impartation. Now let's get to the idea now what we're saying. So we have the invitation for imputation. We have the implementations, follow the steps for imputation. Talked about now earlier just a moment ago, we have the impartation, transferring over of this imputation. Now it's time for us to understand what this imputation is all about. Because even though we don't walk around hopefully using words like this in general, it is now saying that, but I was offered that this is probably one of the most important concepts in the life of a believer. That if we have misunderstood or not understood what imputation is about, it hinders the opportunity to embrace and enjoy life. It hinders 2019 being the best year ever. It hinders that with not understanding imputation. So here's imputation. All imputation is to charge to another's account. It is to charge to another's account. Imputation. It is to charge to another's account. It is to charge. And all we're going to spend this month doing is making sure we delve down further and understand that actually 3 imputations we're going to talk about next week or week after next. So that it is to charge to another's account. Imputation. Now, what's the significance here? It was, I think it was last year, wasn't it? Y'all see those jars up there? Who was there right there? Kitty cat. All right, it's kitty cat right there. So kitty cat, kitty cat is not going to wait to have a party thrown for herself because she knows how she wants it to be, so she throws her own. So what happened was when she threw her own party, and I don't know, it must be like a Shalom thing to love Olive Garden. Because everybody I know around here, y'all go to Olive Garden quite a bit. So we her party. Ain't no party like a kiddie party. So the idea was we went to the so when we were there, celebrating her birthday there, then at that point, my wife comes out here, and it's very rare now. My wife pulls out the credit card. Very rare. I'm telling you, rare. So if it came out and the bill came back, then when it came to Kitty, then my wife pulls out the credit card and says, we'll take care of this. And then, so at this point, so you should have seen Kitty like, oh, really? So we said at this point, Kitty want to order something else? Now, see, what I love about my cousin, because what happens, Kitty's not greedy, but she'll accept the blessing. So what happened was, so we asked, do you want anything else? It didn't take Kitty long at all to go back in when she realized she didn't have to pay to have a little something on the check. Because at this point, now we got some other relatives that I would make sure I would ask my wife to put the credit card in a vault. Because we had some relatives over for the 4th years ago. These people did not bring anything to the cookout. In their car, they had some takeout containers. Seriously, they go to the car, did not bring a thing but themselves and ass and knees. And then they go out here and load up, and I'm telling you, they leave and take like we can't W something, and walk out to their car, and had no shame. Walked in on the way back, they got 5 containers, and I'm looking at them, and they're like, okay, see ya. In those cases, I'm not about to put it down the credit card. But the idea was Kitty. Don't matter putting out, because so Kitty went and got like a little dessert or something else to go as well. So here's the point. Regardless of what Kitty ordered from Olive Garden, did it ever show up on her credit card? Why? Because it's on ours. So here's what Jesus says. Imputation is about. This is what imputation is. Imputation says, so whatever was supposed to show up on our credit card of sin is no longer there because Jesus' righteousness is there. It is whatever was supposed to go and get charged to our account. When Jesus died, he said, no, I can't have this sin charged to their account. I can't have that lying charged to their account. I love them so much. I will die in their place. I will sacrifice in their place so that he can no longer get charged on their account. It's on my account. So now imputation comes. And so now we recognize, yes, believers can sin, but we're so thankful not to have it on our account, that we don't want to go out and put it on his account. He was so good to forgive us of all our sin that the last thing we want to do is to abuse the imputation we already have. It's to charge to another's account. So here's what happens. So my wife developed this right here. I give God a hand that praise. My hand said, wonderful job before. I don't know how she did it, but it looked really good. But the idea was what happens. So people over here, because it's backwards on my screen. So our sin. So when we were born into sin. Amen? Amen. Romans 5:19, by one man's disobedience, Adam's disobedience, we were all made sinners. Same Romans 5:19, by one man's obedience, we were now made righteous. So now our sin has now been credited over to where? Jesus. So because now we no longer have sins credited to us, what's credited to us now? His righteousness. So in other words, if you go back in here and look at a ledger of our lives, when we should have had all these sins, this person did that, and you know you slapped her, and you know you shouldn't have talked about her, instead of having all this, when God looks at our ledger, all he sees is Christ.